What's going on, peeps? With Usher's halftime performance at the 2024 Super Bowl today, the only part of the Super Bowl I'm going to care about, I thought it'd be a great idea to review the year Usher became an absolute superstar and cemented his place in pop culture. 2004. This was 20 years ago. Do you feel old yet? I was 2 years old during this era, but I still remember classics like Yeah, My Boo, and Burn being played everywhere growing up. They were part of the Diamond Certified album Confessions, released the same year. His run during this year was legendary, so today I'll be analyzing this cultural moment to find out how Usher took over the charts in 2004. Let's get started. Before this era kicked off, Usher was already on a streak of successful records. He was 16 years old when he put out his debut album in 1994. He had previously lost his voice due to the aspiring artist going through puberty, which was hard for him to adjust to at first. Thankfully, he pushed through and the album ended up selling 500,000 copies. It displayed his immense singing talent at a young age, but the topics about sex received a side eye from critics, understandably. If he really wanted to be taken seriously, he needed to grow up a bit more. He graduated high school and improved his stage presence, which became evident with his music going forward. His second album, My Way, in 1997, that was kicked off with the worldwide hit, You Make Me Wanna. This led to the album peaking at number 4 with 7 million copies sold in the United States. Nice and Slow and My Way were also chart toppers, putting down the one-hit wonder allegations out the gate. 4 years later, he put out the R&B classic 8701, spawning number 1 hits like You Remind Me and You Got It Bad. The album sold 210,000 copies in its first week, his best sales week yet. By this point, Usher had established himself as a real hitmaker as well as being decorated in awards. He was praised by critics for his versatility, emotional vocals, relatable lyrics, and impressive dance moves that could almost challenge Michael Jackson. Now, this was all preparation for the big year that was to come for the man in 2004. When Usher first started working on Confessions in 2003, he initially didn't want to collaborate with new producers, preferring to continue working with Jermaine Dupri, who had produced his previous 2 smash albums My Way and 8701. Now, despite this initial vision, Usher later backtracked and decided to explore the talents of other new producers, believing they could provide a fresh perspective and allow him to express himself differently. He emphasized the importance of growth and seeking something new with each album. His debut was teenage Usher trying to find his sound. My Way sees him find it, and 8701 cements his status as an R&B icon. This record's concept would be all about his own little secrets that he otherwise wouldn't have proclaimed publicly. According to his friend KP, the album was seen as an opportunity for the public to get to know Usher on a personal level. He then emphasized that while the music itself was unquestionably smooth sounding, people tend to connect more with an artist when they can know more about them. This prompted Usher a chance to be as authentic and real as he wanted. Following 2 successful albums, he had the entire world in his hands. In contrast to his previous album, Usher contributed more to the songwriting process this time around to enhance that authenticity. Many of the songs were conceptually based on specific heartbreaking situations that had occurred in his life. The best example is Burn, inspired by the end of Usher's 2-year relationship with Chili from TLC. Similarly, the title track Confessions Part 2 emerged from a conversation about an impregnated mistress, leading to the creation of both Confessions Part 1 and 2. It was based off the theme of cheating, which ultimately resulted in the 2-part storytelling on the album. After completing what he believed to be the finished album with a total of 40 recorded songs, Usher submitted it to his record label Arista. The original release date was set to be on November 6, 2003. However, both parties felt that something was missing upon listening to the record. Usher wasn't too pleased about the feeling, but eventually they acknowledged the need for 1 or 2 more records to enhance the album. Usher found return to the studio challenging but necessary, and thanks to the help of fellow hip-hop artists Lil Jon and Ludacris, they were able to put together additional tracks like Red Light and Yeah. I'm so glad he went back into the studio. Imagine a world without Yeah in it. The hits producer Lil Jon recalled Usher needed a standout single. Burn was already hot, get it? But they were looking for that initial powerhouse. That's where I came in. Months before Lil Jon got involved, Jive Records had commissioned him to create 15 tracks for the rapper Mystical. Mystical only chose 2 tracks, leaving Lil Jon with several leftovers to offer. But what Lil Jon didn't know was that Jive Records had given one of these leftover tracks to PD Pablo, leading to the creation of Freak-a-Leak. Pretty similar triangle as you can hear. Thinking the track was still available, Lil Jon gave the production to Usher, resulting in a demo version of Yeah. However, once he heard Freak a Leak and realized his mistake, Lil Jon tried to produce something else for Pablo, but the song was already getting shipped and gaining traction on the radio. He quickly went back to the studio and created an equally catchy replacement track, which ended up being... Despite the completion of Yeah, the label had already slated Burn as the lead-off single. KP noticed that while Burn was a great song, the question was whether it could make history, which seemed to be what Usher's camp was aiming for. It did end up making history, but we'll get to that later. Usher remained uncertain about choosing Yeah as the lead single, so in order to test the waters, Lil Jon decided to leak the record to DJs nationwide during the Christmas break, when record labels were inactive. It was supposed to treat fans who had been waiting 3 years since his last album. By the time these companies resumed business in January, Yeah had gained thousands of radio spins without label involvement. Although Usher initially intended to go with Burn as the lead single, given the fact he had a video planned, the overwhelmingly positive responses left him no choice, and Yeah became the first single, with Burn being the second, 2 months later. Yeah was released physically in the United States on January 27, 2004, and quickly was distributed to US contemporary hit radio stations on February 7, 2004. To say it was a hit was an understatement. It was inescapable. It quickly reached #1 all across the globe, spending 12 weeks straight at #1 in the United States. It was the most played song of 2004, best performing song of 2004, and sold 4 million digital copies just in the States. Safe to say the decision to put this one out first paid off. Usher and Arista organized advanced album listening parties a few months later before the official release of Confessions, accompanied by some television appearances to promote the album. Controversies arose regarding the concept of Confessions Part 2, which revolves around the idea of a mistress being impregnated. Dubry had already predicted during the album's creation that the public would question Usher, saying, "People are gonna question Usher on a couple little lyrics." Coincidentally, Usher had ended his 2-year relationship with Chili in early 2004. He had to let it burn, leading to widespread speculation about their breakup, fueled by the content of the album and Usher's early interviews on his themes. The lyrics, which Usher admitted to writing due to a guilty conscience, led people to assume infidelity as the cause of the breakup. In a February 2004 radio interview, Chili claimed that Usher had cheated on her, leading to the end of their relationship. Addressing the rumors, Usher clarified, stating, "People assume things because, as I said, I pull from my personal experiences to make my music." He expressed his love for Chili and asserted that the relationship didn't work out for reasons other than infidelity. Despite Burn being a reflection of his fading relationship with Chili, hence the title, Usher maintained that the impregnation issue was not drawn from a specific event in his life. He disclosed that the inspiration for some of these songs came from friends who had undergone similar situations. Dubry was actually the one behind the album's story. He had cheated on his girlfriend and had a baby with another woman and had to confess to everything that happened to his main girl. All of this drama only made the music world more excited for Confessions, but there was a problem: bootlegging, which is funny because the way Yeah blew up was technically through bootlegging. Despite the challenges posed by music piracy on the internet, Usher and his management devised strategies to enhance the album's sales either way, leading to a reissue of Confessions that would take place months later. But for now, the focus was on promoting the official release as well as the smash singles. The second single, Burn, was released on March 21st, 2004, and 2 days later, Usher's Confessions were released to the entire world. After that, Usher made history multiple times. The album sold 1 million copies in the United States within its first week of release. It became the highest ever first week sales by an R&B artist and the second highest first week sales for a male artist. It was critically acclaimed and considered to be a classic not only in R&B but pop culture. The album obviously debuted at #1 on the US Billboard 200, becoming his first #1 album. This was helped by the drama and its early and successful progress on the singles chart thanks to Yeah and Burn. The first two released singles were competing with each other on the Billboard Hot 100. As mentioned, Yeah spent 3 months on top, but what could have replaced it?
So many days, so many hours, I'm still burning till you return.
his own song Burn, the 6th time in history that an artist replaced themselves at number 1. For 19 straight weeks, Usher dominated the number 1 slot, so long that the 3rd single, Confessions Part 2, was about to top the chart and allow Usher to join the Beatles as the only act to achieve 3 consecutive number 1 singles. Unfortunately, he was cut off by American Idol winner Fantasia with her debut single, I Believe. Eventually, Burn took back the number 1 spot, just to be replaced by Confessions Part 2. His only competition was himself. Yeah and Burn were ultimately 2004's top best-selling singles in the United States, placing at number 1 and 2 respectively on the Billboard chart year-ender. He was the first act to achieve this feat since 1964, when the Beatles' I Want to Hold Your Hand and She Loves You achieved it. But let's not forget about that reissue Usher's team planned. The idea originated from the excitement generated by My Boo, a track initially recorded for the original album but missed the deadline. Alicia Keys was the one who featured on the track, and this sparked discussions about repackaging. The label believed that Confessions had a competitive edge in the market due to its prior success, and physical enhancements such as a new cover art, an expanded CD booklet, a pull-out poster, and a personal letter from Usher to the fans were included. The label wanted to treat this version as like a new album, backed by extensive media advertising. The reissued album hit the shelves in October 2004, 7 months after its initial release. The reissue caused the album to jump from 24 back to the number 2 slot, nearly taking the number 1 back after 6 months. My Boo was put out as the 4th single, and the Superstar team-up was unsurprisingly a success. The song is written from the perspective of Keys and Usher, who play the roles as an ex-couple. It's how they used to be in love and how those feelings are still lingering despite the two not being involved anymore. It would become Usher's 4th number 1 from Confessions, staying there for 6 weeks. Only 8 other albums have achieved this feat. The last single, Caught Up, wasn't nearly as successful, however, tapping out at number 8. You can't win them all, I guess. Confessions was also promoted through now iconic music videos premiered on MTV, as well as the Truth Tour that saw Usher perform 72 shows, grossing nearly $30 million. I also found out that Kanye West opened for him on this. Kanye West! That's how huge Usher was in 2004. This event of a release ultimately presented Usher with several awards: 14 Billboard Music Awards, 3 Grammys, 2 MTV Video Awards, and so many more. Years later, the impact of the album is still on full display. Confessions was eventually certified diamond on November 7, 2008. It has sold about 13 million copies as of today. Let's not forget that this album came out before the streaming era and even the peak of digital sales. The numbers still hold strong today, as Yeah continues to be a go-to club or wedding song to get all the generations on the dance floor. It's eligible to be 11 times platinum, but his label hasn't updated his catalog in decades for some reason. I hope this changes after the Super Bowl. Burn and My Boo are also classics on R&B stations, having sold 5 to 6 million copies respectively. After this album's release, Usher didn't put out an album for 4 years due to several ups and downs in his personal life. He got married to Tamita Foster in 2007, but split with his own mother as a manager, and his father passed away in 2008. This led to Here I Stand that same year, which debuted with 433 copies. A major backslide from Confessions, but it was going to be hard to top that album anyway. Since then, Usher has become a cultural icon that spawned even more hits like Love in This Club, Oh My God, DJ's Got Us Falling in Love, More, Scream, I Don't Mind, and most recently, Good Good. He's now planning to put out his 9th studio album Coming Home on February 9, 2004, nearly 2 decades after Confessions. The album was actually titled Confessions 2 at one point. Also, not a lot of people know this, but there was a successor to Yeah that featured Lil Jon and Ludacris called Sex Beat.
Drum check, shaker, hey! Hot hat, make it clap, kinda sound like sex.
Not my favorite Usher song, that's for sure. These 3 have made much better. I mean, duh. Anyway, Coming Home will have a stacked feature list as well as a whole Super Bowl performance at Super Bowl 58. I'm actually really excited for it. I don't care if Taylor Swift gets the camera panned at her a bunch of times. You shouldn't be mad either. It's not that big of a deal. I just want to see some amazing choreography. So how did Usher take over 2004? It was through a storm of hype, anticipation, drama, risk taken by Usher that pushed him out of his comfort zone, disputes that led to the release of Yeah, undeniably iconic music videos, and of course, just great music. The sheer influence that this record has had on R&B has inspired stars like Chris Brown, Black, Her. His 2004 run was historic and will never be forgotten. If you enjoyed this video, drop a sub, and how about a like as well? Also, how did you first find out about Usher? If you were alive during this era, what did it feel like? Sadly, I was an infant and not going crazy on the dance floor. I'll see y'all in the next one. Make sure to love all and peace.
Thank you.